Welcome in to what I promise is going to be as fun of a show as we can possibly have. Well, that's going to be a little bit challenging today. Lions 41, Bears 10. Our CHGO Bears Postgame Show for the first time in 2023, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Nicholas Moriano, Greg Braggs, Corey Wooten. On behalf of the Chicago Bears, I would like to apologize that they haven't given me this right, but for any Bears fan that watched that for 3 hours, congratulations to you. You are a diehard. You should become a CHGO diehard. I have no idea what was going on with the Chicago Bears today. I'm not talking about even literally anything on the field. Sure, they couldn't tackle a single soul. Sure, we had the standard great start and the Bears getting in the end zone and a 7-0 lead and then a 10-7 lead. But the playing of Justin Fields when the game is over and over is very confusing. We all right? We're all good, Joey? I think maybe your phone's near you. I'm not sure. Some we're getting a little bit. Now we're better. Okay, I was hearing some feedback. Okay. But I just feel like we were all we just all lost some whatever intelligence level we're dealing with, and I'm not saying mine's at the top of the mountain, but we lost some level of intelligence watching. I
lost my last 2 brain cells, Corey.
Woot. When would you have stopped playing Justin Fields? Because I would have stopped playing him right when he started limping off the amazing run. Right after that drive, he would have been done.
I was thinking about that, especially because the body language on that next drive, and he just seemed almost like he didn't want to be there. That's kind of the vibe I got from him, and I really didn't get that in any of the games this season. So if I'm the head coach, if I'm any of the coaching staffs, I'm saying, hey, Justin Fields, let's sit him down. This game is meaningless. He's getting his butt kicked in this game. We can't protect. Hey, we've seen everything we needed from him. We just need to get him healthy to next year.
Yeah, it was different seeing him move after the big run. He just didn't seem like he had that quick explosiveness that we're used to seeing Justin Fields kind of have. And at some point in a season that's obviously not going anywhere in terms of playoffs, we all knew that. But it was weird to keep seeing him go out there, take the punishment that he was taking. And then, when the Bears inevitably went back on offense after they couldn't stop the Lions, he was back out there. It just didn't make sense.
I'm furious. Honestly, I'm furious to watch him take the hits he took in the first half, to watch him play in the fourth quarter down 30, to watch them put him out there with 2 minutes left in the game. That is ridiculous. It's reckless. It's stupid. It's stupid. And it honestly pisses me off. You want to play him in the first half, fine. Running a quarterback power on the goal line where he smashes into a brick wall. How many QB designed runs do they have in the first half? It's unacceptable. The Packers game when he came back from injury, they kept him in the pocket, no sacks, no QB designed runs, throw it out of bounds when you're in trouble. That should be the game plan. And if your pocket can't hold up, then get him out of the game. He doesn't have the protection or the receivers to get the ball out of his hands. And you expect this guy to just run up and down the field and do everything himself to keep the Bears in a game. For what? It's stupid, and I'm honestly irate about it.
Okay, let's do the Fields guide. Might as well start with that because we're there. For the Fields guide, brought to you by our friends at Greenridge Farm, Chicago's local meat and cheese company, and they are offering you the all better, all natural, delicious option. The all natural deli meat sausages, their famous meat sticks coming in chicken, Black Forest beef, and jalapeno cheddar. Listen, when you're walking around your refrigerated section at Costco's, Sam's Club, your local Chicagoland grocery store, look for Greenridge Farm. It'll make your life better. And when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com, include a pack of meat sticks in your cart. Those meat sticks will be free. Use that code CHGO at checkout. So there you see it. 7 of 20 we've got on the screen. I seem 7 of 21. It doesn't matter. 75 yards, a touchdown to Cole.
That's on me.
Okay, that's a low fun, Joey. No problem. Doesn't matter. You're totally fine. Touchdown to Cole Kmet, an interception, Aiden Hutchinson. He was sacked 7 times for 45 yards. So that's a net passing yards of 30 yards on the day. There's just no way that Justin Fields leaves this game feeling good about it. Like, we're looking for some confidence at the end of the season. We're looking at some digesting of the offense. You can't do any of that when you have no time. And you certainly can't do it when you're dinged up, worried about getting hit. I mean, we could all see it. It was obvious. He was mentally checked out. And I think the last one on 3rd and 19, for whatever reason, he's still out there. Aiden Hutchins is like running at him. Aiden Hutchins could have taken his head off. And I think he just screamed at him, hey, and like finally just dumps it and like walks out of bounds. Like that was the nicest thing anyone's did to Fields all day long. I did not get it at all.
Hey, guys, I'm just trying to figure out, like, Eberflus as the head coach. How do you not see that, especially in the second half, right? After you started your first drive, things aren't working like you wanted to. Why not pull him and just say, hey, Justin, listen, we're just going to pull you. We're going to sit you down for the rest of the season. I value you. Things aren't working out with the offensive line, whatnot. Boom, let's just pull you and sit him for the rest of the game. Sit him next week. I thought that would have been a better decision from Eberflus and the Bears, because right now, like Bragg said, we're down 31 and he's still in the game. I'm thinking, what? Like, what is going on here? I don't understand how anybody wasn't in his ears saying, hey, let's pull him right now. Luke Getsy, anybody saying, hey, let's get him out of here. He's taking too many hits. The offensive line hasn't looked good. I just didn't understand that at all. And I think that's negligence to do that to your franchise quarterback.
You're treating him like he's a quarterback that still has mountains to prove.
That's exactly right.
Because if you were in the playoff hunt, you'd be pulled in that game. If you didn't have anything else to prove as a good player on the team, not even great, good player on the team, you'd be pulled in that game. So they're saying, that's their actions show he's not good enough. It's like you got to show more with 2 minutes left.
It's like they don't. It's like they haven't figured it out themselves if he's good enough. So we need to see more.
You know, that goes back
to the telecast. The guy calling the game said, well, this is where you got to find. With 2 minutes left in the game, he's like, this is where you got to find out where your quarterback is. What?
Down 31, you're not going to figure out anything from your quarterback in that situation. But I think it goes back to just because it's Eberflus. That's what he truly believes in as a head coach. Like, all these guys are equal. We have to have good practices on Wednesdays to perform on Sundays. So it all goes back to how he kind of just coordinates and approaches the team, and that's wrong. It's wrong in this situation.
Right. This is not junior high. This is not high school. We're not trying to teach lessons. These are professionals. Everyone's competing as hard as they possibly can, except for the Bears today in the second half when the game was over and it's New Year's Day and you're 3-13 and the season's over and they're all like literally looking around like, what are we doing here? Can I go home and see my family? I mean, Wood, can you explain like what it's like to be a player on that field?
I don't know. As a player, if I was a veteran guy in the locker room, I would have talked to Eberflus. I would have pulled him to the side and said, listen, we have to remove him here. I think that's the problem with this team. There's not enough leaders out there, a lot of veteran guys that people really look up to. And, you know, I think – when I played, I think if there was something that happened, I think, you know, Roberto Garza would have pulled Eberflus to the side and said, hey, listen, man, we got to pull him right now. It doesn't make sense at this point, right? Veteran guys that have command of the locker room. And I don't know, maybe that's just the leadership within the locker room. There's not enough leaders. But somebody should have stepped in offensively and said, no, we need to. And then Luke Getsy, right? You're the offensive coordinator. You know what Justin Fields can do. You know when he seems healthy, when he doesn't. After that run, he just didn't seem like himself. And I understand playing him a little bit after that, but in the second half, you should have pulled him. You should have pulled him at this point. He has nothing to prove. He is our quarterback of the future. I think everybody knows that in the organization. So it's just almost like, really? Like, Jared Goff got pulled before Justin Fields. What?
And people are going to push back on that. They're going to be like, well, you know, I would even slightly push back on it. Like, he does have something to prove in the passing game, but he's not going to be able to prove it when you have nobody to protect him. Right. And your receivers. I mean, how many receivers caught a football today?
Two receivers.
Two. What did Chase Claypool do today? Did he catch a pass?
No.
That's not good. But it's partly, you know, when you have no time. how do you have any
can I
level
ask
of
you guys
success?
this real quick? Can I ask you guys? So Jalen Hurts last year compared to Justin Fields this year. You feel better about Justin Fields compared to Jalen Hurts last year, correct?
Yep.
Everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Justin Fields has done more with less, right? So imagine when he actually gets weapons next year, right? That's what I'm just trying to figure out. If I don't understand how anybody could not be sold in the organization on Justin Fields, what he's been able to do with the cast. He arguably has the worst receiving and offensive line in the NFL, and he's still been able to rush for over 1,000, make plays, put the team on his back. So I don't know what he has to prove. Like, I don't understand what fans still don't believe it. I'm hoping the organization believes in it, but this, it really has me baffled. I'm very confused about this.
Tony Daly's in the chat, and I respect Tony. I like Tony. The Irish Bears show, they do a great job over there. Oversees diehard Bears fans. He asked, what has changed? Lads, the season was over weeks ago. Should they have benched him then? What has changed? Well, what has changed is they have no more. Darnell Mooney is out for the year. Chase Claypool's just coming back from his second injury. Knee injury, yeah. Their offensive line is depleted. Tevin Jenkins goes off on the first play. He's been hurt with a neck injury. Schofield goes out with an injury. You're playing with backups to backups. This is equivalent to when you put Justin Fields in harm's way last year in the preseason and had him play in the second half with a bunch of guys that weren't going to make the team. You're essentially dealing with that with the back end of this roster because it's a depleted roster. There's injuries across the board. The defense cannot stop anybody. So now you've got him playing shootouts that he has to keep up with essentially by himself. And then the number one reason, the injury. He got injured against the Atlanta Falcons. He hurt his shoulder. They held him out a week. They came back with, I thought, a protection plan of how they were going to use him. He's had cramps. He's had tired legs. He is getting hit on every single play, and you are at the end of the season. Nobody was suggesting sitting him in the middle of the year. We are at the end of the year. Depleted roster. He's getting killed. He's clearly tired. He's hurt. It's common sense, people.
I don't think there's a whole lot of pushback on it at this point. It's just except for on the Bears coaching staff apparently, and that and I've seen it in the chat, and I've seen it on Twitter, and I've seen it in my head. The hits principle is asleep right now, so it's the optics of the defense right now is just, I mean, you can't look worse than Jamal Williams. Just, I mean, I think literally anybody right now, there are high school running backs out there who are running 5.4s who think that they could get in the end zone against the Bears defense right now. It was just so the physicality is missing. The mind, just the body language is off. So I don't know. It just this one does just, it feels awful on a lot of levels. Braxton, we could play some blame game here, but go ahead. You could start our blame game.
I was gonna say before we get in the blame game next week. I'm telling you, if they play Justin Fields in this last game, I'm gonna be very disappointed in this coaching staff. After Tevin Jenkins potentially is probably going to be out next week. Schofield's going to be out. Braxton Jones got absolutely dominated today by what I thought was a talented pass rusher, but he's only 6 foot, 245 pounds. Danielle Hunter, the biggest freak of nature next week. And yeah, like I'm telling you, they should sit him next week. Like if they do not sit Justin Fields, I'm going to be very disappointed in Eberflus and Ryan Poles and this whole coaching staff.
Speaking of being disappointed, and maybe this is hindsight. I didn't say it, and I should have said it, but Tevin Jenkins goes out last week, carted off the field in a very scary injury. Okay, like, are you paralyzed? Like moment, like it was a terrifying moment. And he's okay. He makes it through. That's sweet. This season's over. This is your best offensive lineman. You're throwing him out there the next week, and then he lasts all of 3 plays, and it should have been said ahead of it, but the way that went, it's got to be clear that was a miscalculation. He shouldn't have been out there.
At this point in the season, if somebody's not close to 100%, you don't play them. And it seemed like Tevin Jenkins probably wasn't close to 100% at this point, especially a neck injury. You got to take that serious, and especially your Pro Bowl caliber guard of the future. You don't want to waste it on games that don't matter. So this coaching staff in this week and what they did, I was pretty high on Eberflus. I'm very down on him because of this. I think it could have been a bad situation with Justin Fields. The hits he took probably could have got him concussed, got him rolled up in a couple plays. It was just very bad. QB power, like Bragg said, it's really disappointing, man. It really is.
I mean, can you imagine? Let's just say, for argument's sake, somewhere in that fourth quarter, he's scrambling away, and all of a sudden, maybe he's not even touched, but he gets caught on that turf and blows out his Achilles. I mean, it shouldn't be about the result, but at that point, you would be having the conversation, is that a fireable offense? So him being out there, and no one's firing Flus and whatnot, but him being out there is so unbelievably reckless. I get that they're trying to build this tough right? Like, but come on, man. These guys, these are professionals. They wouldn't have been like, oh, what do you mean you're sitting him? No, not one Bear would have said that.
Not one Bear about Justin Fields.
Right.
No one would have said or questioned that decision whatsoever. Again, it's just Eberflus stuck in his ways, and that needs to change moving forward.
Well,
it does.
And Corey, you bring up, if they had veteran leadership, a captain on the field. I'm sorry, Ryan Poles, you're the captain of this ship, right? You hired Matt Eberflus, so you got to have these conversations going into the week. You got to know what you're the one that gave Matt Eberflus this roster. You can't expect the coach or the players to tank or whatever you're saying, or sit, or even just sit out of caution, not even tank. You gotta be coming up with every variable, any situation that's gonna come up. What are we gonna do here? You're allowed to have that conversation with your coach, aren't you, Corey? I mean, to me, I think this is a Ryan Poles thing where he's got to come down and talk to Matt about this going into next week. Or is he, Corey, do you think he's supposed to stay out of this and let the coach be the coach?
It just makes me think that maybe Eberflus doesn't think he has his job for next year or something like that. Like he was trying to play for something like his job security almost, like trying to win this game or make it competitive. It's weird. Like you would think that him and Poles have that relationship where he could go talk to him and say, hey, let's shut him down at this point. Like, because Poles essentially is the captain, right? He decides if Eberflus is going to be here or not, right? So he reports to him. So if I was Poles during the game, I would have called down and said, hey, take him out right now. Nope, he's the franchise guy. So I don't know. Everything I've heard from Poles, Eberflus seems like Justin Fields is the quarterback of the future. I thought it had been clear. But now people are speculating, oh, is he not the quarterback of the future? I don't know. I just think it was just, I don't know what happened today. Like, do you think maybe Eberflus is thinking his job is not safe?
I see that feels so crazy. Like you're not going anywhere. And Jake Flanagan with a good comment here. It's a reminder, we are 73 days to free agency, 118 to the draft. This is going to feel different in the offseason. This will just be a blip. But the concern is that there is one more game, and you don't want to be the person that is, or the kid that is got the marshmallow at the campfire and thinks he can get it super close, and hopefully it'll cook right, but you might burn it. You don't. That's really a terrible analogy, but you get the point. This is not a risk worth taking. There's no perfect ending to this season that is available where Fields throws some incredible touchdown pass and he walks off the field like this, and yes, we grew and this was a great year and we can all feel good going into the offseason. They don't need that moment. It's not coming. So plan accordingly. That's just take your lumps.
You made it this far. You competed all season.
There's plenty of wins. There's plenty of tape that you can look at. And okay. This was the year, and we're moving forward. Period. End of story. No hanging your head. No nothing. No lack of confidence. We're moving forward. But we don't need some great end of the year epiphany that's going to help us push into 2023.
And you know what, guys? Real quickly, just all this talk about like next week and what the Bears can gain by actually playing Fields. Just going. It reminded me of what Eberflus said earlier in the week. What can be gained in these last two games? And here's a quote that he said about Justin. I just think that when you're a quarterback, you're going to have adversity during the course of the season. Yeah, Justin's had all these guys out. Guys are not catching passes. Your offensive line's in flux. You're going to have some linemen out. You're going to have some skill sets. They aren't going to be there, and he's got to figure that out. In that part right there, he's got to figure that out. I wonder if you're Matt Eberflus, okay, this is a good teaching moment for Justin Fields. Let him go out there and play without his star or his wide receivers, his offensive linemen, because he can learn something. But in actuality, what we just saw in the Detroit game, it's doing more harm than good. He's taking all these unnecessary hits because he has to hold the ball longer. Nobody's open.
And nobody's really, and you're absolutely right. And I believe you're on point with it's just Matt, I almost said Nagy, Matt Eberflus, and just the way he wants to coach. I don't think he thinks his job is on the line. And nobody's talking about creating bad habits is another aspect of it. Not only are you putting him in harm's way, but you could potentially be creating bad habits by putting him behind an offensive line he doesn't trust and wide receivers that he can't feel the chemistry with, that knows he can complete certain passes and where they're going. Yeah, you got to work on things, but half of these guys he's not going to be working on with here in about a week and a half. So what are you really doing? Yeah, we need Chase Claypool and him to get chemistry, but the rest of this offensive line, he ain't going to be playing with these guys next year. He better not be.
Let's go to our blame game, and we can take it off the coaching staff and just kind of maybe look around the field as well. Blame game. Ladies and gentlemen, we've already been doing it. 41-10, Lions over the Bears. Woot, who were you outside of the coaching staff, perhaps? Who were you looking at today?
Braxton Jones. I mean, he got absolutely manhandled. Grown man over there. James Houston, he's only 6 foot, 245, 250 at the most. I mean, completely decleated him 3 or 4 times. I mean, it was bad. Braxton Jones sacked Fields. It wasn't Houston. He pancaked him in the field, and Braxton Jones himself had a sack on Fields. You know, and this is a guy I've been high on. But I told you, Braxton Jones' strength is not there. Like he is very weak when he sets. He can't anchor against the power rush, and he struggled all day out there. And it's definitely disappointing, to see that, because that's somebody I was high of. But I think we need to invest a lot more in the offensive line than I thought. Right, I was really big on the defensive line, but at this point, I think we might need 4 new potential positions at the offensive line. You know, left tackle, left guard, potentially center, potentially right tackle. Tevin Jenkins, hopefully he's okay for the future, but I think he's the only one that's a mainstay at this point right now.
And let's be honest, we don't know about Tevin just because of the physical side of it and whether or not he can stay on the field. That's where I was wondering if you were going to go there, Woot. Like, are we officially now on? Well, I don't know if Braxton Jones can be your left tackle mode, which you don't have a whole lot of time to play with. And I think the answer to that question is going to be yes, at least one more year and an off season of hopefully he puts on 20 to 30 pounds of muscle and gets that base a whole lot stronger. But he'll be under the microscope next year. This is
for sure.
Fair way. Nick, who do you got blame game?
I'm going to put it on just wide receiver separation is how I'm going to look at it for the blame game, because a lot of the times where Justin Fields had those third down runs, they're in passing situations, but because nobody was open or maybe Braxton Jones is giving up pressure, he has to escape. And he has to try to do something, try to do it all on his own, but it's just the lack of separation. Just even when Dante Pettis had an opportunity to catch a third down catch, goes right through his hands. That's happened the past 2 weeks for Dante Pettis. But just the consistency at the wide receiver position. Like, obviously, we just talked about maybe the Bears need 4 new offensive linemen. They could probably use 4 more wide receivers. They could probably use a bunch of new guys on the offense. And just in one offseason, I think it becomes a little bit more scary to think about everything the Bears need to do next offseason, where they have a lot of capital, they have draft picks, all that, but there's so much that needs to be done. And I look at the wide receivers. Corey, you said on the pregame show, New Year's resolution, you want to get Justin Fields a dude. He absolutely needs a dude at the wide receiver position moving forward that can, hopefully mitigate how bad this offensive line is if you know that you can have a guy that you can trust like that.
And Nick, you talked about getting a number one, right? And I think Darnell Mooney, when he had Allen Robinson a couple seasons ago, he really came alive, went over 1,000. So Darnell Mooney can definitely fit that the number two role for sure. We got to see what we have with Claypool, if he can potentially be that or number three. But yeah, we definitely need the number one. So I feel confident in Darnell Mooney when he's healthy, when he has a number one receiver. Even the threat of Allen Robinson a couple years ago really got him open.
Yeah, we all know where my blame game's going, and that is to Matt Eberflus. No, I ain't calling out Luke Getsy for putting Justin Fields in harm's way. I don't care that he calls the plays. You're the head coach, right? We all said with Matt Nagy, you want to be, the CEO of your sideline. Don't worry about one side of the ball. Be the CEO. Now we got our CEO, and he's standing out there watching, his most valuable asset, take hit after hit after hit and not protecting that asset. Unacceptable. Anybody, that thinks it is misguided. I'm sorry.
You didn't follow the rules. No coaches. Got to have a player.
I got to have a player.
I put on multiple players.
It's a hard one to pick because I'm sitting here trying to figure out who I'm picking, and I have no idea. But I'll give you the cheat. If that's fine.
You go.
Well,
you go? I'll figure.
Just say defensive line. Just pull them all into one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My guy, I saw you out there. It was a moment to remember for Dom Rob. He got to the quarterback. I was so proud of him. We haven't seen it since week 1. And Justin Jones got to the quarterback. Oh, did they give the sack to Travis Gibson?
They did.
They gave it to Gibson.
Yep.
My guy didn't get there. Well, then I'm going to have to put it back on Dom Rob. Not for the sack where I was going, but there was that one tackle down the field on the 3rd and 18 where
the play after the sack.
There was a play after the sack. The Bears defense for 1 second at least was going to look capable.
Yeah.
I know it was going to go away whether he didn't make the sack or not. But on a 3rd and 18 draw, they let him pick up however many it was, first down plus, and Dom Rob was right there, missed that tackle. It's one thing to not get to the quarterback. It's another thing to get blocked off the play, and then you're right in the lane to make the tackle, and you can't do it. That ain't great. So,
all right, I figured my player out.
Okay.
The defense definitely let go of the rope today. First time I feel like they have all year. I could easily go to Jaquan Brisker. He had a few missed tackles that led to touchdowns. But I got to also understand that they've been playing with a hand tied behind their back. So I ain't going there. I'm going to go to Cole Kmet. Yeah, he scored a touchdown. It was wide open. But when he had a 2nd and 8 throw to the sideline, he dropped it. And if we're going to talk about protecting our quarterback, you got to help him out too. And when he gets the throw, he delivers the pass, you got to catch it. As I'm sure on the next play, he got his head knocked off. I can't remember because my head is spinning currently. But Cole Kmet, you want to get paid this offseason? You've had some flashes, but I don't know what money he thinks he's going to get this offseason. But you got to make those easy catches. Yeah, you're wide open, but you also got to make those contested catches as well if you want to get that money that you're going to be asking for this offseason.
There's no doubt.
It's his 3rd year, right? Cole Kmet, this is the 3rd year?
Year 3, yep.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to re-up him after this year. I think they'll wait till after next year. I don't think he's shown enough. I mean, he's flashed at times, but he's not consistent enough to command a new contract, in my opinion. I feel like you have a lot of other needs, and you have him for another year. So I wouldn't pay him.
Unless you're going to get him on a great deal and he's willing to do that, then maybe that would make sense. But, what Cole needs to do, he needs to be more efficient. So we probably need to get Cole signed up, and you signed up in the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, Braggs, where we're helping families and businesses in the communities save money and energy. ComEd's offering a free facility assessment that can help find energy-saving opportunities, lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. Cole, I still believe in you. I do. But just tighten it up just a drop here. Become more efficient. Save yourself some money, too. And don't wait, by the way. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy-saving tips or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz or call them during business hours, 855-433-2700. Or you can send the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative an email at business at ComEd.com. Business at ComEd.com. Oh, boy. Efficiency matters. We're so far from that even mattering as far as Bears win, but efficiency would help.
Efficiency, you know what also would help?
What else? Yeah, we can not look at this stuff is what would help.
Yeah, no, that would be good.
Brick
But no, I'm
juice.
just going to Shady Rays would help you guys.
That's what I'm saying. Get some rays.
They're premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles cater to everyone in every lifestyle. The best part about Shady Rays, they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us they'll send you a brand new pair, no questions asked, drop them off a lake, crush them after watching the Bears get blown out by the Lions, whatever. They got you. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still managed to make quality that I can tell you holding in my hand seems just as good as any expensive pair that I've ever owned. Shady Rays customers seem to agree with over 200,000 five-star reviews. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. Buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Redeem only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all the newest and best shades.
So let's move along to our tankathon here and just take a look at where we are sitting, as it did not really go the Bears' way today, even though they did their part convincingly. Yeah.
Love that graphic.
So the Jaguars walloped the Texans 31-3. So Houston sits at 2-13-1 ahead of the Bears at 3-13 with one game to go. Elsewhere,
Got Denver and Arizona up there on the graphic there, Mark.
Yep, both 4-12. Unfortunately, the Broncos were awful close, but Kansas City pulls it out 27-24, and the Arizona game was super painful because the Cardinals were able to grab victory or grab defeat from the jaws of victory, losing to the Falcons at the Horn 20-19. So a bummer, and the Colts, that didn't happen either. For Indianapolis today, as Indy goes down to the Giants 38-10. Congratulations to Brian Daboll and the New York Giants for getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, guys. What needs to happen? Obviously, the Bears will face the Minnesota Vikings in Week 18. Bears need to lose that. They're doing their job. They did a great job today against the Detroit Lions, and then it's going to be Houston who will have the Indianapolis Colts in Week 18. And watching the Colts and what they're doing, it doesn't look like they're trying to win either. So if Houston were to win that game, that'd be great for the Bears. They would be in contention again to get that number 1 overall pick. But the Bears are doing their part. They're losing games.
The worst the Bears can pick is 4th, right? Or can Indy jump us?
I think they get a top 5. Yeah, so
maybe
Brags, they ain't winning this game. We gonna be number 2 and number 1 at this point.
that's fine. I mean, they up until this game, and I know Adam's excited to take his victory lap on the I called it. But up until this game, they have competed in every game. That includes the Bills, the Jets, or the Jets, the Bills, the Eagles, the Dolphins. You know, they've been in a lot of these games. And so it was, to me, a valid concern. Yeah, they're going to lose they've been losing like this every week. I wouldn't have said a word about the prospects of losing. So, yeah, Rob Schwartz is putting up in the chat, Eberflus saying Justin Fields will play next week, which is no surprise. If we had taken a poll, I don't think any of us would have predicted he would have said the other way.
Exactly. No surprise. He's not.
What do you have to gain, though, Carm? Like, you treat this like a bowl game.
Preaching to the choir, Woot.
I'm not saying you're disagreeing with me. I'm just airing out my frustration. So I'm sorry if it came across like I was mad at you. I'm mad at Eberflus right now. You treat this like a bowl game 100%, right? In the last game, nobody plays. Why? Because they're thinking about the future, and that's what he should do with Justin Fields.
Well, I'm curious how you think that resonates in the locker room. Are they like, oh, sweet, that's our guy. Of course he's playing. We're trying to win this game. This game matters. Or are they like, dude, what are you doing? That's our franchise.
I'll tell you what the last game of the season is, right? Everybody's like this. I just want to get through the game, be injury-free, and think about where I'm going on vacation. That's what people are thinking about.
They already got their flights. You already got your flight booked, right?
Exactly. And people are talking about rushing record. I couldn't care less about his rushing record, right? I couldn't. It'd be cool to get, but at this point, if you're sacrificing his health to get a record that's going to be meaningless, if this is your franchise guy that you feel great about in the future and he could lead you to a Super Bowl and be contenders every year, a rushing record in the scheme of things means nothing.
And you know what? I know Justin Fields entertained that idea about the rushing record a couple weeks back, but he cares so much more about actually winning than any record that he might break in the process. And right now, like, winning is the furthest thing that this team could do, like, I mean, just because of the roster.
Well, I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I do agree that I think winning comes over everything for him, but I did think he kind of peeled back the curtain a little bit there too, because he always says that he's good at saying the right things.
Yeah.
And I think there it was a little bit of a fraudulent slip. Like, yeah, I want that record.
True.
Like, he probably doesn't want to outwardly
I'm sure he does.
it.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want the record? He needs 64 yards to get it. So
get that on one run, then get him out of the game.
Right, but so that's the thing. Like, okay, let's just say for argument's sake, Fields is going to say what he says, which is, I'm good to go. He's saying that. And then Flus is going to do what Flus does. Well, of course he's playing. We're not even considering that. And then let's just say for argument's sake that in the fourth quarter, down 20 to the Vikings, he crosses over the 64-yard thing. Is he gonna? Is he gonna hold the ball up and his teammates are gonna hug him up like it's Walter breaking the record against the Saints back in whatever the year that was, and we're all gonna jump on Justin Fields? I mean, this is not gonna feel like anything. He'll say, yeah, I got the record and that's cool and it's great to be a part of history. So yeah, like that's what's gonna, and it's not gonna feel like anything to anyone.
We'll give him a big standing ovation at Soldier Field. I mean,
the
guy is
that's
literally
true. That's true. They would. You're right. They would give him a standing ovation. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'd love for him to get it, but as long as there is no cost to it, I'd rather him sit out, no question. But that's obviously not happening.
I guess I'm going to do my flip in the moment. He gets it in the third quarter. The Soldier Field comes to its feet on January the 8th. Yeah. Flus has the opportunity to take him out of the game. He doesn't, so it's like a 28-second ovation, and then we're on to the next play. That's what's going to happen?
But that's where I'm like, probably. Okay, Eberflus says that Justin Fields is going to play. I don't know. Nick told us when Darnell Mooney got hurt, Ryan Poles is behind him in the press box, and he tells this story about how Ryan Poles, curses and slams his hands on the table and gets up and is really upset for his guy Darnell Mooney. So I don't know how, if I'm watching the game and I'm irate seeing the risk that Justin Fields is getting put through, I know that's what he's thinking. That's his guy. So how is Ryan Poles not going to come down this week and talk to Matt and be like, hey, I know you want to play, let's talk about this. I just don't get it.
Lost for words.
Yeah.
There's no explanation
they would have.
Stupid.
I just think they would have done it by now. I don't think that conversation's coming.
Don't you guys just think with his body language today, it just seemed like this is the first time I've seen Justin Fields like he didn't want to be in there, right? He's
That's
taking
true.
These hits.
That's true.
And especially when they had the one sack fumble, right, where he scrambled up to the line, is looking down the field still, and Houston hit his arm for the sack fumble. That was a play where I'm like, that didn't seem like Justin Fields. He just seemed very lackadaisical out there, and I just don't know if his head was fully into that game after he took a couple of those hits.
Adam Ho is going to join us from Detroit, and I guess Rob is, people are watching the press conference or seeing Twitter, whatever. I'm not. I hope he was asked, did he perhaps tweak something on the, how long was that run? 60 some odd yards, whatever it was, because it seemed like he got up. He was a little bit hobbled. I think we might have lost Woot. We'll get him back. He got up. He was a little bit hobbled. He sort of looked around, and after that, he did not look the same. So to me, it almost felt like to me like something tweaked that was maybe bothering him, and then he was afraid the rest of the game that if he made the wrong move, it was going to be more than a tweak, and we were going to have a real problem. That's what it looked like. And once you're afraid that something is going to go on you, your body language is going to be a whole lot different. I can say this as an expert on the tennis court, and in this old body, and always worried that my Achilles is going to blow out. That's what it seemed like, though. I mean, seriously, like he tweaked something, and he was afraid.
He wasn't he like
after that long run, when they zoomed in on him, he just looked like he just had that look on his face where you're like, what's going on with him? And then after that, it just seemed very lackadaisical. We didn't see the same sense of urgency with Justin Fields. Wouldn't you guys agree?
100%. Yeah, no doubt about it. Like on that first drive, he was leaning on the field camera. Like he just looked exhausted too. Like after that big run that Mark was just talking about. So clearly, this is a guy like earlier said that his legs were feeling heavy. Like it's a lot. He's done a lot this season, and now going finally into the last game of the 2022 regular season, it's like it's gonna start to wear on him, and I feel like we're kind of seeing that bits and pieces as the season's finally coming to an end.
This is a kind of I mean, maybe they're already having this, but I think this is kind of a sobering moment for. Mostly, I would think Ryan Poles, who I think is well aware of where he's at, but like to see this in action, like Flus is talking about, these are big games, these are division games. Okay, let's take that on at the face of it. This was a big game. You were playing a Lions team that was fighting for the playoffs. They had everything to play for, and you guys were playing for the hits principle and playing for pride and playing for development. Well, you got smoked. You lost 41-10. You showed that for a team like Detroit, who's not elite, you were nowhere close to their level. And I asked the question on Twitter, and we were having and Kevin, we talked about it on pregame, and like at the beginning of the game, he's like, I don't know if you're right about that. Like, which roster would you rather have, the Bears or the Lions? And so I tweeted like, would you rather be the Bears? We've got Fields. Would you rather be the Lions? We have a lot more. We have an offensive line that can protect our quarterback. We have a quarterback behind that offensive line. He looks pretty decent throwing the football. He's awful efficient. We got a lot of young talent on this team. We got some receivers on this team. Like I would rather be the Bears because I think if you're trying to win the Super Bowl, you got to have the elite guy, and if everything comes together, okay, you've got the quarterback, so you're better set up. But you can certainly make an argument for the Lions. Like, who knows if the Bears are going to hit it? A very good argument. You'd probably be making the correct argument if you had to bet your life savings on who's going to be more successful in the next couple of years. Detroit's had a very impressive turnaround from 1-6, and they shouldn't have been 1-6 to begin with. They lost a lot of close games. This Lions team should already be in the playoffs.
And I mean, this game just highlighted how much the Bears need to do. We've kind of been talking about that throughout the entirety of the show, but there is no pass rush. They can't stop the run. You can't block for your quarterback. He has nobody to throw to. Like, all those things, the Lions they're feeling pretty good about that, even around Jared Goff right now. So I know like there's a lot of optimism in 2023, and I think there's still optimism amongst this panel here, but like there's just a lot that needs to go the Bears' way. They need to pick the right draft picks. They need to get the right free agents. You need stack good decisions on top of good decisions for Ryan Poles, but there is a lot to be done, and a lot needs to go right. And if it doesn't, you don't hit that number one wide receiver. You don't get someone that can rush the passer. You're still going to see a lot of the holes that were showing up this season show up in 2023.
Yeah, but I think these last few weeks could skew like our original mindset halfway through this season when we still had Darnell Mooney, when we still had Sand Locker, and we still had Jalen Johnson, and still had this crappy offensive line that's not even going to be here next year.
I hear you.
To me, they don't need to hit on every single hole. They just need to be calculated on the holes they do hit, and it's a trickle-down effect. You got, like Corey said, Chase Claypool's not playing well right now, but when Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool were on the field together for the couple games they put up 30 points a game. So it's a trickle-down effect. It's the same thing on the offensive line or defensive line. You put a few pieces next to some guys that are Joes You get some pros next to some Joes, and the trickle-down effect, all of a sudden, you don't necessarily have to fill every hole, is my point. Depth is certainly a concern, but
I'll tell you 5 positions we need to hit on for sure next year. We need 2 offensive tackles. We need a pass rusher, a defensive end. We need a 3 technique, and we need a number 1 receiver. Those are the non-negotiable for next year. Mm-hmm. Everything else could be built out in the process over another year, but it has to hit on those positions right there for next year.
So you're completely out on Braxton Jones now.
I don't know, man. After today, getting dominated by a guy that weighs 245 pounds,
it's not a good look.
I don't know. It's not a good look at all. Depleted 3 times. I don't know. It's
that game and the Washington game were the 2 he got beat the worst in.
But Sweat is 6'6", 275 pounds.
He's like, woo.
You know what I mean? Houston is 6 foot 245. Come on. I don't even know if he's 6 foot. He might be 5.
I mean, when a former NFL defensive lineman on the show just puts it like that, I can't help but laughing. Depleted. That's football players watching. Dude, this little guy just puts you on your ass. That shouldn't happen. And it didn't just happen once. You weren't just off balance. He kept on coming back to the well. I like the concept of Braxton Jones gaining weight and getting to the next level, but I think
it's not a sure thing.
It's not. But I also think Woot, they have so many needs. I just don't know. He's down the list from where they got to go. I'll still stay with the defensive line. You cannot play football next year with the way the Bears are playing football defensively. You just absolutely can't do it. You have no chance.
No. We weren't saying that until this week.
That's not true. That is not true. The
Bills game and the Eagles game, the secondary was playing really well.
They did play better.
And before Sanborn got hurt, he was filling some gaps.
But hold on. We've been saying every single week,
they have no pass rush.
That literally,
we've been saying that since you said that before the year started.
Right. You could sit back there, make scrambled eggs, then grill a burger, and put the ribs on the grill too. This, we've been saying this for weeks, and everyone's been saying this is no genius here. They have to get some pressure on the quarterback. You can't win. Win like that on the high school level.
Yeah, you get a D tackle and a D end, whichever one's coming free agency. Then you get the other one with your number 2 pick in the draft, potentially, unless you're trading back. We'll find out about all that. Those two. I think if you get a D tackle and a D end,
to me but those are needs 1 and 2.
You have your whole secondary. You bring Sandlocker back.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a defense that can compete.
What about the other linebacker positions?
I mean, I think you can plug and play. I mean, yeah, of course, I'd love to get another guy. I just think that they can compete just from those 2 alone and plug and play the rest. I'm not saying it's going to be the best defense in football, but I'm just going off of what I've seen this year. They just get a little bit of a pass rush. Mm-hmm. It's going to feel like night and day. They've played the whole year without. They have 10 sacks on the year.
We're agreeing. We're 100% agreeing.
You think the secondary played good this year? How in the hell did this secondary even develop under that kind of lack of pass rush?
Secondary had no help.
They have developed.
They had no help today, but they were awful.
Of course, they're done.
It wasn't good. All right, Hoag's coming up. But
God, I'm pissed off.
You're all right. You're good. But first, Nick Moriano has something that he really, really, really wants to tell you about Game Time tickets because I need to go to. I couldn't be more excited about going to see the Northwestern Wildcats play the Ohio State Buckeyes tonight at Welsh Ryan Arena. Let's get the Big Ten home opener. I need to see some different sports after this one. In the world of sports for me, let's go get some cat basketball. But what else? And wow, expensive. Last call for Wildcat basketball. Go ahead, Nick.
Yes. So Game Time, as Mark was just talking about, is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could? 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, Floor seats at a concert, it's possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats that you thought you could never buy. You won't find a better deal this season on Bears tickets for the last game of the year because Game Time is created by the fans for the fans, and it guarantees the lowest price. And if you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events.
You're looking for cheapest for Hawks tonight, 323 row 9, one seat, $66.
Not bad.
Sharks and Blackhawks. What do you got over there, Braggs?
I got to tell you about the fans, the tradition, the glory. There's nothing more thrilling than college football, Corey Wooten, and it all comes down to the national championship game happening on Monday night. My go-to for betting is DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. And right now, new customers can bet just $5, Mark Carmen,
just $5
on college football and get $200 in free bets instantly, win or lose. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code CHGO. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Nick.
Yes.
I did it without. I did
really
that
good.
very angrily.
You did.
You
Very passionate.
you had a lot of passion. It was good. I liked it. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's
Yep.
give our king of the game.
There he is.
Absolutely. There. Congratulations, Jamal Williams. We were going to give it to you, the Bear fan, but then for anybody who sat through this and is hanging out with us right now, you absolutely are the king of the game. But Jamal ran wild today. 22 carries, 144 yards, and a touchdown. And we're getting a little bit of feedback there. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Stream.
You're all right there, Braggsy? Was that you?
It's not me.
I know it wasn't. the Bears as a whole today, gave up 265 yards on the ground. 144 to Williams, 78 to Swift. Jamison Williams had 40 himself. Man, oh man, oh man, and 255 yards receiving. Is that good? Woot, can you break that down for me? Is that a good stat?
It's a good stat for them. Terrible for us. But yeah, we got to improve so much on the pass rush, and I think everything today comes from the defensive line. It's all a rushing cover. I talked about that Tampa 2, and it's hard for the secondary to cover when they're getting no pressure at all. So I think if we could really rebuild the defensive line, I think it'll make things a lot better for the linebacking core and the secondary, because this really thrives on dominant defensive lines. You look at all the teams that are competing, top Eagles, the 49ers, they have some really dominant defensive lines, and they've done that through the draft and free agency over the past couple of years. So you have to do that. Ryan Poles, we have a lot of needs, but yeah, defensive line is definitely a big one.
So
Not now, Chubbs. Focus.
Chubb says something about Patrick Kane.
He just focus, Chubbs. Not now.
well, he's they did look like a scout team, and again, Hoke's coming up.
I love you, Chubbs.
I love you, Chubbs, too. I'm looking at this one tweet. Matt Eberflus said that Justin Fields will start Week 18 if healthy. There were discussions about taking him out, but Eberflus said getting the in-game experience was still valuable. Can you imagine? You guys have your conversation over there. Can you imagine? Me and Woot will talk. Can you imagine, Woot, that they discussed this They were having a moment of discussion. Do you think we should take him out? I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't. You know what? This would be really valuable to leave him in here with 5 minutes to go. Yeah, you know what? Absolutely right. Let's send him back out there. I can't imagine. Like at least there's a sign. Well, okay, they did discuss it, but then they came up with the epiphany, the reasoning. Yeah, no, let's send him back out there. Hits principle Bears. I don't get it. I don't. Does anybody get it?
I call BS on that for a second, right? Because if you're a coach that understands everything that's going on, you see the body language, you see how he's moving, how he's looking. You pull him to the side, you talk to him. Hey, how you doing? How are you feeling? You talk to the training staff because they were stretching him out. How is he doing? What's going on right here? You try to figure out everything that's going on. So I feel like they didn't do a good job of talking that whole situation through, because he should have been taken out for sure in the second half. After that first drive, he should have been taken out.
Can I ask one more question, too?
Yeah,
let me just ask one question. I got it that he got dinged up on the run today. But this has been a thing all season long. The Bears come out, first drive of the game. They look fantastic. Mm-hmm. We're going to go down and get points. Best in the NFL. 12 out of 16 games they have scored on their opening drive, another touchdown today. And then all of a sudden, poof, the offense just goes away. I don't get it. If somebody can explain that to me,
how did they
I'll explain it to you right away, right? The scripted plays. That's what it is. The first 10 to 15 plays are scripted. That's why it looks great, right? Because he's going at their tendencies, what they usually run, and he targets that. And then what happens after that? Adjustments. So Luke Getsy hasn't been doing a good job of adjusting, right? The other teams have been adjusting better. So he's got to work on that for sure, because in the ebbs and flows of games, they start giving you different looks, different schemes, stuff that maybe you didn't see in film. So Getsy's got to do a better job of changing as the ebbs and flows of a game go through.
I agree, but also, what was the big play that got him down there this week, or for this opening drive today?
On the first opening drive?
Yeah.
The
pitch.
Yeah.
That was Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
They motion Cole Kmet in under center. First, Fields is in shotgun formation. They motion Kmet over. He goes under center, and then he pitches it to Justin Fields, who runs for like 35 yards or whatever it was. And it's like, that's not sustainable. You can't expect. So when they were scoring 30 points a game, he was running for all four quarters and making your offense look real good. Yeah, their opening drives have looked nice. They've had some nice throws here or there, but the majority of it is also Justin Fields running, which you can't expect him to do for the entirety of the game.
It was 31 yards for the record, and it's in Carm's notes, which we'll get to this, but it's also right under there. Cole Kmet pitched to Fields 31 yards. Montgomery a great block, and then there's 5 of the first 6 plays Fields is getting hit.
Yeah,
that's how the game started,
too.
And it was a ticking time bomb. No, it went off on the second drive, basically. Like, if you could script up the start of the game, you telling me that you can't have adjustments throughout the game? You're smart enough to do that. You can't figure out how to adjust during the game?
Exactly, and think about how many boots they ran after Aiden Hutchinson was just waiting for that play. Yep. Like, they ran like 5 or 6 boots, and I'm like, after the first 2 times when he stayed at home and it didn't work, why are you running it back to him? The whole week they're thinking, we have to stay at home. We have to set the edge for Justin Fields. So they had a really good game plan, for Luke Getsy and this offense to Justin Fields. So hats off to them, because, last game against the Lions, they really struggled to contain Fields. So, yeah, but I just didn't understand why we didn't change the game planning after he stayed at home on 2 of those boots. Oh, let's run another boot. Okay, he's at home again. Let's run another boot. Okay, let's keep it going, because maybe the 6th time he won't stay at home. Like, I just didn't understand that.
What was Khalil Herbert's numbers on the day? Why don't they run him more instead of making Justin Fields take all these carries?
5 carries, 31 yards.
5 carries for 31 yards, and one of which was a 24.
Nice run.
Yeah, the 120-some-odd yard carry. They have 2 running backs, David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. Run them. They're your horses. Let them run.
Yeah, you guys, I don't know. I would have to go back and watch each game just in-depthly, but the Bears' offense has only looked good when Justin Fields has actually had a good rushing game. right? Like when you look at when he was breaking records, the Bears are putting up 30-plus points a game. That's the next step to see in 2023. Like you mentioned it, Justin Fields would say he's not going to want to run for 1,000-plus yards rushing every season.
Right.
We need to figure out what this offense can be when you don't have that component where he just has to drop back and pass, but also you need the guys to block for him. You need receivers for him to actually throw to.
And get open.
And that's the thing for Luke Getsy. It's like you're almost taking advantage of the great ability that Justin Fields has. So it's something that needs to be seen still. What is this offense? What can this offense be without Justin Fields just rushing and creating plays when nothing's there?
Just like Jalen Hurts from last year to this year, right? They got a big weapon in Brown, and Smith had another year of experience. It's made a huge difference because he didn't have to rely on his legs as much. He can use them when it's open and take what the defense is giving you, but it doesn't have to be, okay, that's our game plan. We're going to do all these own reads. So hopefully we get that dog at receiver.
If you're talking, what do you think the conversation is this week with Getsy and Fields? Like, hey, man, I just want to let you know that I appreciate how far you've come this year. I appreciate the way you've competed. I appreciate the way you've stepped up as a leader. I appreciate your talent. I appreciate how you've been patient. And thanks for everything, and we'll see you. I'll go down to Aruba right now. I don't know, like what do you, like? I think do you have to see? I wonder if he needs to be at least slightly built back up after the body language that we saw today. Is where I'm going. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just a confident Justin Fields, and that's it.
There should be a conversation between them two, just because they're both going to be there next year. So you just got to be on the same page and just make it be known that, like, hey, like you said, I appreciate everything you've done. You put the team on your back. You've really come alive this season, and let's try to finish this strong and keep you good. Like,
I mean, there is not literally one person in the city that didn't tweet and or have a thought today about taking Justin Fields out. People who would never even criticize the Bears in a million years were saying, "Can we get Fields out of there?" That's going on everywhere. Yet the head coach of the Chicago Bears isn't doing it. I don't see how that's possible.
He's definitely injured. How is anybody going to say he's not injured though? He is injured.
Yes.
Like he's not to the point where he couldn't play if the game was on the line and this mattered. But at this point, he's not 100%. Could you all agree on that?
I mean, it's like
absolutely.
It's like the people that watch the show. Carm, you're old. Yeah, okay, whatever. You can see the gray hairs. Like you got it. You figured it out. Like Fields limping when he gets up. Like, okay, you're not 100%. We got it. You do not need to be Bill Belichick in his prime or Bill Walsh or Sean McVay to figure out the quarterback's messed right now. Come on, man. Should we do my notes as we wait for Hogue? You guys got any things you want to
yell about? You want me to yell some more?
What's that?
You want me to yell some more?
All right.
All right.
Here
I actually got to see the notes get constructed.
Here they come.
This is great.
Here they come. Woo, these are for you.
Bring my notes.
You didn't bring your notes?
No, I don't need them. They're terrible.
You're okay. My notes start out like this. Aiden Hutchinson, down goes Demo. Apparently he blew him up on the first play of the game. 2 of the first 3 plays Fields is in. 3 of the first 4. 4 of the first 5. 5 of the first 6. This is what I'm like. I'm just. I was hyper focused on, is this dude going to die today? And thankfully he didn't, but he came close. 31-yard pitch with Cole Kmet's on here. Joe Thomas, you made it a good form tackle once again. Every game, he led the team in tackles today, 13 of them. Congratulations, my brother. They had a late blitz on Amon St. Ra, who was a 4th-round pick. Come on, my friend. Bob Wright with the touch. Brock Wright, excuse me, Bob Wright. Brock Wright, shout out Bob Wright, good friend of mine. Brock Wright, touchdown pass. Fields cracked on the second drive on the first play. 49 sacks, same as Russell Wilson. So we saw it, and there was just no adjustment. We're just going to let him get hit. And then, of course, we get to the goal line, and they run him.
Power.
QB power, baby.
What were you doing at home when that happened?
I was about to throw something at my new TV that I got during the Black Friday deals. Then I reminded, hey, I got a really good deal on this, so let's not mess it up. But yeah, I was just like, man, negligence on your franchise QB. Oh yeah, let's run them QB power.
That's where I was like done with it because like I'm trying to be like look inward. I know I've been all about this top draft pick, so maybe I'm biased. I know I've been overly protective. I've been suggesting sitting Justin for weeks, but when they ran that QB power, I just started firing it off. I've been angrily yelling at people on Twitter ever since, and I'm not going to stop.
Which is on the notes. We'll get to that in a second. But on the best play of the game, the Fields run where he got something at the end of it, Braggs yelled out, "He is gone," and
he wasn't.
And he wasn't gone. Now he wasn't actually caught from behind, but I do think if we dialed up the mile per hour speed gun on that, he wasn't running as fast as he was earlier in the year.
18.5 probably. 18.5, yeah, not the 22.
He wasn't doing 22s. I wrote on there, Nick closed his game prep at that. Nick closed his game prop at that point. Moriano cashed in right then.
The rushing yards.
There we go.
I did not cash in with my Kari Blazen game. I got one game left.
You got it.
They don't use them enough.
Yeah, they don't.
We had a N'Keal Harry sighting, was on the notes. Brock Wright with his second touchdown pass. We're going to have Hogan 1 second here. Dom Rob and Gibson, nice job. And then we move along. Hogan Slack, by the way, at that point was saying, I'll be taking apologies from all of you for calling me out for saying that the Bears had absolutely no chance of winning. We're about to give Adam Hogue that apology. There was a million Moriano comments today. Oh, my God, we are getting our ass whooped by the Lions was one of them. That's when Braggs yelled, stop killing our quarterback. Dante Pettis had a drop. Another Moriano. I thought they'd at least keep it close. Then I was doing the Lions were 1-6 at the start of the year. The Bears were 2-1 and 3-4. And I'll wrap up the notes with the Bears calling timeout with 2:45 left. God, please tell me you asked about that, Adam Hogue. The timeout, Chicago, so we can get some more of the hits principle in there. Adam Hogue joining us from Detroit. What did you learn in the locker room, Adam Hogue? Congratulations on knowing damn well that the Bears had no chance of winning this football game. And I apologize for clipping that out to make sure we had it on the one sheer chance that we were going to get to celebrate and make you walk around Ford Field, or at least feel guilty for not walking around Ford Field. You were right, sir.
Yeah, some of us have been watching this defense on a weekly basis. Now, I will say I thought the Bears would score more points than they did. And honestly, that's what I'm more concerned about. Like, I get all the defensive stuff, and everybody looked terrible, and they weren't tackling. Come on, there's two guys on that defense that are playing today that are going to be starters next year. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think there are some valid points about, hey, what about the hits principle? Isn't this supposed to avoid games like this? And, yeah, I get that to a certain point. But really, I'm more concerned about the offense. And here, I'll tell you what. We'll start with Flus admitting that they did have discussions in the middle of the game about taking Fields out, given how the game was going. He did say that they were having those discussions, and ultimately they decided that the value of in-game experience outweighed the risk. And you guys aren't going to like this, but I kind of agree with them because I think, look, let me preface this saying everything I have to say, right? I love Justin Fields. I think he's the future. I think the passing stuff is going to come along. He didn't play well today, guys. He held onto the ball way too long. He was not reading the field, and I get he was under pressure a lot, but you got to know you know this. You got a timer has to go off on in your head. You have to know that at some point, even if you don't see him, a pass rusher is coming from behind you. And there was a bunch of that today. So I understand that it didn't look great, but I I could have gone today. I could have gone both ways with it. I would have understood if they took him out, but at the same time, I also understand where the coaches are coming from, which is, we got to figure this out. We got to figure out some of these connections between Fields and the wide receivers. And if you get another opportunity with timeouts and 2 minutes left on the clock to try to get a 2-minute drill in there in real live game action, you don't pass on that opportunity. So I'm not against that, as I know you guys all are.
So Hogue, didn't you feel like his body language after that one run? It just seemed like he wasn't the same after that. I don't know if his hamstring, his hip, seemed like they were stretching him on the sideline. He just didn't seem the same after that, like about anything out there on the field.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. It's like something seemed off. I think that there was look, I'll tell you what I admire about what Fields said post game, which is, and Flu said the same thing. Fields was pushing to stay in there, and Fields says it's important to him, that his teammates know that he's never going to come out of the game, that he's going to take advantage of every opportunity he has to fight with those guys every time he gets a chance to go on the field, and I think that's something to be admired and respected in that locker room. I'm sure his teammates feed off that, but at the same time, like, I did think that there were moments in this game where he just wasn't feeling it and tossed the ball out of bounds when he maybe could have tried to complete a pass. And maybe that's the right decision, because you never want to force passes when they're not there. But something did seem off, and he was getting treatment at one point on his leg and hip. He said he got rolled up on earlier in the game, and then that's kind of what he was dealing with. So I don't think – I will say this, he answered my pregame question about his speed. That seemed to be there on those long runs, but then I think he got dinged up again, and that kind of went back to him not being fully 100% the rest of the game.
I mean, what I've been saying is the same thing that Corey just said, Adam. Is look, on the long run, when he got up, something got tweaked, and then they're working on him on the sidelines, and from there his body language just changed. And I'm not saying he's a finished product at all. He hasn't thrown for over 300 yards once this year. He hasn't done it in his career. And we all know that part of that is because he hasn't had weapons. He doesn't have protection, so we're not putting it all on him. But yes, he also needs reps. But the reason that I was like, get him out of there is that he was dinged up, at least some, and then mentally he was gone. I appreciate the fact that he's a tough guy and that he wants his teammates to respect him. He's not going to be a prima donna and ask out, but that's where the coaching staff has got to protect the player from himself. I mean, if he's the one saying, get me out of here, it doesn't look great. But if the coaching staff does it, then, that's a different story.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think you look at the situation and there was something to gain there. I mean, and I think it's not just him. I think it's the wide receivers too. I think it's, the opportunity to build on these moments that you're not going to get again until the preseason next year. And what's more valuable, a 2-minute drill in week 17 against a team that's going to the playoffs, or has a chance to go to the playoffs, or, these limited reps you get against vanilla defenses in the preseason. I think a lot of people are overlooking the amount of growth that still has to come from the quarterback and the limited opportunities you still have this season to make progress in that area.
Did anybody say? Didn't you think he was taking too many hits though? Like at one point, like as a coach, if you're evaluating, you're like, man, he's taking too many hits. Like I got to pull him right now. That's what I thought. If I'm the coach, I'm going to take him out after a certain point after he kept getting, hit.
Like the one we have a big issue with, Adam, is the QB power run in the first half on the goal line. He had just taken like 3 hits prior to that. Then they call QB power to the right, and he runs into a complete brick wall. That's when I lost my mind personally. I don't. How did you feel about when that play was called?
Yeah, I know what play you're talking about, and I think there was some pre-snap motion built in there that. I'm trying to remember I know what play you're talking about. I'm trying to think of what was happening pre-snap, but I think they dressed that up in a way where I actually thought the snap it was going to work, and the Lions get paid too, guys, and they did a really good job against him on that play, other plays, and it sometimes
But
there's
no,
just plays
Adam,
that
I
don't
mean,
work.
you're saying let's build chemistry with the receivers. You're in the red zone, and you call QB power. He got you down there. Call some plays to work chemistry with your wide receivers.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
I
hey,
mean,
At least I'm not crazy.
was it addressed what happened at the end of the first half? Because you're sitting at the 40-some-odd yard line. It's an obvious you're going to throw a Hail Mary, and then I don't even know what happened. He just
Slow motion.
He dropped back. He looked around and he threw the ball to Aiden Hutchinson.
All right. So this was interesting because I feel like we got two different stories on this one from the players and one from the head coach. Cole Kmet gave us a pretty detailed explanation of what that play was supposed to be and described it as a situation where you complete a short pass. I don't know if it was supposed to be lateral to Fields right away, but the play was designed to get the ball back into Fields' hands at some point there. So they, to the Lions' credit, just dropped everybody back and screwed everything up. And that's what Fields said. He's like, they weren't expecting them to drop that many guys back. Now, if you compare what I just told you to what Flus said, if you go back and listen to his press conference or read the quotes, it's very interesting because he was making it sound like they were trying to get in field goal position. And he said, when asked if they were expecting everybody to drop back, he said, yeah, we would have done the same thing. So two very different answers. I think most likely the head coach is trying not to give away scheme. So I'm going to go off of what the players were saying. And the bottom line was the Bears had a different type of play call than just your normal, typical throw it up for a Hail Mary type deal. Versus and the Lions obviously dropped back and confused everybody. Now, Fields also, to his credit, not that this was a controversial statement, but said, "Yeah, I should have just thrown the ball away." He's like, "I have no idea why I threw that ball." So again, credit the Lions for out scheming the Bears on that play. The explanation from Flus was a little confusing, but I think he was just probably trying to protect the play call.
We were all a little confused on that one, Adam, when we saw it happen live, and then Aiden Hutchinson's getting an interception there. What happened with Chase Claypool and Justin Fields' response to what happened there?
Okay, so I'll credit Kevin Fishbane here from The Athletic because he happened to see, I don't know if this got shown on TV or not, but he happened to see after a third down play, Claypool going off to the sideline and throwing his helmet and getting pretty animated, including in the direction of Tyke Tolbert, the Bears wide receivers coach. And so he asked Fields about this in the post-game press conference, and Fields was pretty passionate in his answer and was like, "Yeah, we can't have that," and told Chase Claypool that too, and said, "Hey, look, you gotta somehow keep these emotions inside. We all understand that things get heated in the middle of the games and things get frustrated. Everybody was frustrated today, right? So a little bit of a leadership moment, I think, there from Fields with a new player on the team that's struggling and not getting many opportunities. So again, I didn't necessarily see exactly what happened, and we're just going off of Fields' response and his answer here. But I don't think it was a great moment for Chase Claypool, and credit the quarterback, I guess, for kind of calming things down.
Well, this is his history, though. It's not new for Chase. He has your intermittent blow-ups, and I get him being frustrated, but I also like Fields' leadership there. And, dude, you have not been healthy. No one's doing anything today. So let's not if they could rewind that trade right now, there's no way that Ryan Poles is feeling good about that at this particular moment. Not that it won't work out. Hopefully it does. But right now it certainly doesn't look good.
Yeah, but I'm worried, guys. I think that even the way they used him today was confusing to me. To have him on a pitch count, but yet they were still running him on deep routes. And then it seemed like as the game went along, they threw him out there more. It's just the whole thing was confusing and didn't really add up to just him being, limited with an injury. which of course is what they're trying to. What Flus said after the game, yeah, we didn't know if he was going to go and all this, but like, I don't know, and this is just me speculating more than anything at this point. But I feel like it's more playbook related.
So,
They
got a
had
question for you. Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead, Will.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna
You
say,
said
early on in the game, they were only putting them really out there on like third down. So like the plays that you would have installed for third down, it just seemed like that was like more of what the emphasis was with him. And sure, maybe it's snap related to the injury, but I don't know. I think part of me is having a hard time buying that it's just that.
Don't you think there's been some kind of disconnect between the training staff and the coaches, even from Jalen Johnson early on, and now Tevin Jenkins coming back and playing, Chase Claypool, even Justin Fields being a little banged up? Don't you think there's some kind of disconnect maybe between the coaching staff and the trainers? Like it seems like they're maybe not on the same page in certain regards, judging from what we heard from Jalen Johnson early in the year.
Yeah, and we talked about it at that time. And I think that was an example where, the coaches could have protected the player more. And then there were other examples where they did do that. I want to say keeping Tevin Jenkins out with the back was one of those things. And then, yeah, I do think there's an inconsistency there. That's worth tracking going forward. I think there's a lot of things about this coaching staff we still don't know. How are they going to manage game clock situations when they're actually in these games late? Big decisions like Ryan Day had to deal with last night in that Ohio State Georgia game where I didn't really think that they handled the clock great to set up an easier field goal. Like these are all things we don't know yet. And we're not going to know for a long time, to be honest with you, at least until deep into next season.
41-10, Adam Hogue's lone travel for 2022, now 2023 season. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think it was the second time I've covered a game where the Lions put up 40 on the Bears.
40 burger.
Yeah, I think one of the guys on this panel might have been playing in that other game too.
It's a 2013 it was, right? Yeah, it's a lot of bad stuff that happened. Yeah. I apologize for that.
Hey, Adam, real quickly, what was the environment like? Like you said earlier in the pre-show, like you hadn't been to a lot of Lions games late in the year where it's actually relevant. So what was the atmosphere like knowing that they're still in the hunt for the playoffs?
Yeah, good question, Nick. And it was kind of what I thought it would be. It was pretty loud. It was a good environment, and I asked Sam Mustipher that in the locker room after the game because he's as a center obviously has to deal with that with the silent count and all that. It looked like to me a few times where Fields was he's in shotgun. He's trying to run back up to the line and he yells something to his offensive lineman from behind, and it's just so loud. And Sam said it was definitely the loudest he's heard the building. He's played in a couple games here. I think he's been on the sidelines for a couple others. So it was a factor today. And again, I think that goes back to experience. And, some things to learn from that the Bears have plenty to learn from today. By the way, another player too, Braxton Jones, struggled, right? And he was very critical of his own play. We talked to him after the game, and he was very critical. I thought his pad level was too high, too much. And you could tell he was kind of down. And you just hope that that's not like turns into a confidence issue, right? Because you don't want guys too down on how they play, but it's also nice when they recognize it. And I think today was something he can get better from, right?
Yeah, I think it's a little concerning when you look at next week who will be going against Daniel Hunter, right? And probably the biggest freak of nature in the NFL. And James Houston today, like I told you beforehand, he's very talented pass rusher. He's only 6 foot, maybe 245, 250. To get absolutely manhandled by him is very concerning for me. Montez Sweat, I get it early in the year. He's a big guy. He's 6'6", 270. But yeah, it's definitely a little concerning to get manhandled by Houston like that.
Yeah,
Adam,
just sorry, real quick, following up on that. I think today sort of opens up the door for me of the idea of whether it's in free agency or the draft. If you have the opportunity to add a stud cornerstone left tackle, I think you'd do it.
Skoronski maybe from Northwestern. Ooh.
Yeah, and not that you give up on Braxton Jones, but maybe you see Braxton Jones can maybe be your right tackle then.
Real quick, Adam, just get your opinion on this. When you spoke on your belief that Justin should have played in the second half, you prefaced it by saying that you believe in Justin, you like Justin, you think he's going to be a good quarterback. But the question I laid to these guys before you came on was, normally in that situation, especially in the fourth quarter, for playoff teams, the starter's getting taken out. A proven quarterback, the starter's getting taken out. Do you think, they said they wanted him to get more reps, but do you think in their mind he's not proven to them, or is it strictly about the reps and not about that they believe 100% he's their guy?
Well, he's not proven. I mean, I think that's where we've sort of all gotten out over our skis a little bit too much. I mean, he is electric. He's a talent that you can't replicate really across the league. But from a passing standpoint, he's still got to come around there, guys. And so I realize what you're asking me, Bragg. So I think it's not that simple. Do I think that he's proven enough to them to be the guy going forward? Yes, I do. I don't think that
they're not looking at quarterback at 2.
Yeah, that would surprise me. I'm not going to rule it out completely, but that would surprise me. But that's different from having another 2-minute opportunity late in a football game against a division rival. Granted, things weren't going well, but these are live reps. These are live reps that matter with the wide receivers out there that like Chase Claypool, that you need to figure out can they get open in these situations too. So he's not proven. He's not a proven quarterback. And I think that that's something that we have to start differentiating between, yes, he's the guy everyone's excited about for the future, but from a rep standpoint, he's still got to show everybody, a lot more sometimes.
The Claypool part of this whole conversation, I wonder just slightly. I'm not saying that I would bet on it, but I do wonder if they might consider moving him in the offseason. Just,
well,
I wonder. Just a slight wondering. Take your loss, get a draft pick for him. Didn't work out here. We'll take a third. Anybody?
Yeah, maybe. I think I'd rather try to give him an offseason to see if he can get his stuff together within this offense and see what you can get from him. Real quick, let me give you one example too of what I was just talking about, okay? Because I got heat on this on Twitter. There was a third down incompletion to Byron Pringle that Pringle didn't even have a chance to catch the ball, okay? Pre-snap, Fields correctly, to his credit, saw the blitz coming. And I don't know if it was an option, but he motioned Claypool in. The running back had his assignment. The blitz should have been picked up cleanly, but Khalil Herbert kind of got on him for a second and then lost him. Okay. And Fields' throw wasn't close enough for his receiver to make a play on the ball. And everyone's like, oh, well, what's he supposed to do? He's got pressure, the blitz thing. Okay, but here's the thing. It's the NFL, okay? And you have to, in situations like that, where not everything's perfect, at least give your wide receiver a chance. I'm not saying it has to be a dart that's completed, but you can't throw a foul ball out of bounds that the wide receiver has no chance of getting. Okay, so when I say these moments that he still got to prove himself, that's an example of one where, yes, I understand everything's not perfect. The O-line's not good. The wide receivers aren't that good. But still in those moments, give your wide receiver a chance to prove himself. A foul ball out of bounds does no good there. It doesn't give anybody a chance to evaluate anything.
I didn't have a problem with the tweet. I saw that you got heat on it, but ball was thrown 10 yards deep nearly into the stands. It wasn't his best throw of the day.
And it wasn't a throwaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, so.
No, you overshot him. All right. Travel safe. We'll see you back here tomorrow in this seat at noon.
I'll be there.
Congratulations on correctly calling that the Bears had absolutely no chance to beat the Detroit Lions today. Or 2% or a 2% chance.
Come on, guys. You know what? And honestly,
Me and Nick picked him.
Yeah.
27, 25, 27, 24. How embarrassing is that?
Dead last.
come on, Woot. These guys know better, right? I mean,
I know.
Come on.
Detroit's coming off a bad loss last week. They're fired up. They got to win these 2 next games. Come on, you can't bet on Dan Campbell.
I'm sorry that I remember that they should have beaten the Lions at home. I'm sorry that I was told that this was a huge divisional game. I'm sorry that I thought the Lions might wilt under the pressure like they did last week against Carolina. I'm sorry that I got confused that the Bears were playing best in the NFL to a 1-score game in the fourth quarter against the Buffalo Bills and didn't realize that. I guess that was all about the weather. This was like pre-Commanders level bad. This was a bad one today.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think that this is probably a worse loss than that.
I mean, this is...
It was by far the worst loss of the year. Every game they've competed in, with the exception of the Jets game, this was the worst.
But again, like I'm not necessarily too worried about the defense giving up what they did. I'm disappointed that 10 points when you had... This is as healthy as you've been on offense. To me, the only comp harm to that first Lions game, because teams change so much during the season, is just from a personnel standpoint, I thought that they were in position offensively to do something similar that they did that day. I thought the defense would give up too many points for them to win or have a realistic chance to win. But for it to look that bad offensively was very, very concerning.
We mentioned earlier, and we're going to wrap up the show here, but, like, I just don't get it. Greatest team in the history of the NFL on that first drive. They're amazing. Just go right down that field. Best in the NFL. Rest of the game, can't do shit.
Great script plays.
Respectfully, because I love each and every one of you, so I'm going to try not to scream like I have been for the last 4 hours. But I mean, Adam, you say I'm not as worried about the defense because they have no defensive line. They have no offensive line. Guys, Devin Jenkins goes out with the first play. Schofield's out. All these, they have a bunch of backups to backups playing the offensive line. They gave up 7 sacks. He's taking all these hits. So in the same breath that you say, I'm not as worried about the defense, give this man a pocket. Not 100% of the time. It's not always going to be clean. The other team gets paid too. But 7 sacks, that's not something that's sustainable to expect Justin Fields to develop as a pocket passer either. And I believe he is a pocket passer. He just started running this year. Get him a pocket, and I think we'll start seeing some of the things that we all want to see.
Yeah, I'm with Hendricks. Just script the whole game then. If you can script the start of the game, let's script drive 2. Let's script drive 3. Let's just
I hate to break it to you guys. The first 3 plays were horrible. They got bailed out. They got bailed out by a defensive holding
penalty,
call. And then Justin did what Justin did with his legs. I mean, the one great call was the pitch from Cole Kmet to Fields off the tight end sneak that they called a couple weeks ago. Okay, that's plays on plays. That was a great call, great design. Otherwise, I'm not even sure that the success they had early was due to anything, that was schematically all that great. I think it was a bailout on a penalty and the quarterback doing special stuff that he's capable of doing.
So it was basically luck. All right.
Let's go, Colts. Let's go, Colts.
All right. Adam, travel safe. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
All right. Woot, we love you.
See you guys tomorrow, my man.
Adios.
I guess we don't really have to say goodbye to Woot because Woot's on the show and we're all saying goodbye, but I guess we are saying goodbye to Woot. Bye, Nick.
He's gone.
Bye, Mark.
Bye, Greg.
Bye, Greg.
Bye, Joey.
One more week.
Hey, guys.
We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Thanks so much for all the comments today. Happy New Year. This was a good group therapy session today for the whatever that was in Detroit.
Let's go Colts.
Better days ahead. Let's go Colts. All right, there it is. For Chase Claypool, I'm Mark Harmon. This has been CHGO Bears Postgame.